Welcome to the Failed Podcast. In this podcast, we dive into the world of failure, exploring the stories and experiences of people who have failed and found success in unexpected ways. Each episode, we invite guests from various fields and backgrounds to share their personal story of failure, discussing how they coped with setbacks and what they learned from their experience, and how they ultimately turn failures into success. Through these conversations, we hope to inspire and motivate listeners to embrace failure as an essential part of the learning process, and to view setbacks as an opportunity for growth and personal development. Man, I need to turn it on, man. I am your host, Sam Esquivel, and I want to welcome our guest today, the man under the hat, under the shadow, the guy that refuses to be seen in the pictures he posts on Instagram. You know him as Johnny. You know him as Mike number 2 on the R.A.P. podcast with our boy Jay. They've been making the rounds on so many headphones around the Metroplex. Yes. But I think we have the guy that makes everything go. I'm not sure. We're going to figure that out in this podcast. Johnny, my man, how are you? Welcome to the Failed Podcast. How you doing today? What you got going on?
Oh, thanks for inviting me to this. And I'm doing all right. Doing well.
It's a Saturday, bro.
Yeah.
You came through. I couldn't, I couldn't say thank you enough. I've listened to all your stuff.
Yeah.
I know your chemistry. I know how you flow. I know how you talk. I intentionally opened the pod with a little more energy to see if I could bring, and then you're the same, bro. You're just like, this is Johnny, man.
Yeah, I'm just laid back, chilling.
You better slow down. You better turn the volume down. And no, I enjoy listening to the R.A.P podcast. Y'all teach me a lot because y'all got a lot of insight when it comes to music, but y'all are also pretty funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what we try to do. We were talking about it today. We're just like, I'm glad that we didn't just have it just informational, because that would be kind of boring.
Yeah.
I like that we kind of
like funny how? Like funny like a clown? Like funny like I entertain you? I'm not saying like that.
No, I know exactly what you're saying. Like, it's an entertaining kind of podcast. Like, yeah, you get some information, but you might laugh too.
Yeah. And Johnny's so fast, Jay's so fast, and are you ever just sitting there saying, bro, you ain't that funny, bro, let's move on?
No, I'm usually laughing the whole time.
It's so crazy, man, but I enjoy listening to what you're doing. And on the description below, we're going to put in your info and the podcast stuff, and you're going to be able to learn a little bit more about Johnny, what he does, what makes him move, and what gets his creativity going. Because when you hear the word host and co-host, what comes to mind? Like, what are the misconceptions? How do y'all label yourselves?
For us, it's just like we're both the hosts. We didn't at first. I thought it was gonna be Jay would be the main host, I'll be the co-host, but really it turned into me and Jay are the host.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
No, I like it. I think that's fair. I think a lot of people get caught up in the titles, and they might take offense to it sometimes, being a co-host. But I know how difficult it is to be a co-host.
Yeah.
Even though I have my own pod, I'm constantly a co-host whenever I bring a guest on, because what I'm trying to do is spotlight the guy in that mic. And so in a weird way, I'm the co-host and the host of my pod. And so, but I think y'all handle it really well. I think the chemistry is really good. How many episodes do y'all have in the books?
Well, whenever this drops, we'll probably have 20.
It sounds like y'all been doing it a long time. I know Jay's been doing it a lot longer, but it sounds like y'all got a lot more under your belt.
Yeah.
If you could look back to like 1 through 5 and then look at like 15 through 20, can you see a difference?
I can see. I've done it because I did this like probably a month ago. We made a R.A.P podcast playlist that plays all the music that we have played on the podcast. And I had to go back to the first episode and hear it. And you just hear me all laid back and it's just, yeah, this is a good da-da-da. And you can hear me all laid back, and then once you get to like the maybe fifth or sixth episode, you start hearing me like actually talking kind of like how I am now.
Yeah.
And like you can hear me open up more, because usually like normally I'm really shy. I used to be even more shy than I am now.
Yeah.
It was to the point like I like, especially as a kid, I couldn't even talk to adults. That's how shy I was.
Every time people are on podcasts and they're interviewing someone, and then they say, "Man, I used to be shy," or I'm an introvert. They always say, "Well, you chose the wrong thing," but they don't understand that when you're doing a pod, you're still very alone. Yeah. And then if you have a host or co-host, they're really good friends of yours, so you're in a really comfortable
that's what it is.
Atmosphere.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think it works, because I'm an introvert, like to the extreme.
Yeah.
I manage it well, and obviously I'm a lot older in age, and so I've learned a lot of coping mechanisms. But that's why I'm able to do good here. And then anyone that comes on, I kind of study them, and especially if they're doing podcasting or something, I kind of understand who they are. And so, do you think that helps? Like outside of the mic, do you still feel like secluded and wanting to be alone? Or is that changing?
It just depends. Like my friend group, yes, I like to be around certain people, but like even like for example, like when I'm at work, I really don't talk to a lot of people. Yeah. If they talk to me, I will for sure talk to them back and have a great conversation. But I'm not the person to engage a conversation.
And you got one thing going for you, bro. You're super tall, so there's so many people that are so smaller than you. They're just not going to talk to you. So that's like more than half the population is underneath your chin. And so does that help? Because if they were when they're your height, they're like, "Hey, what's up, man? We're right here, man. What's going on?" So we're going to open up with some interesting facts, because I know that y'all focus on music.
Yes.
And we're going to talk a little bit about like how you've grown your knowledge, how you're able to share it and give all this insight when it comes to hip hop, producing genres, all this stuff. Because for me, I'm just a listener, but like when I think of you, I feel like you analyze it and you think about it a little bit deeper. But I'm going to hit you with a few things that you probably didn't know. But if you did, please let me know. Okay, right. Here we go. Music has been found to have various positive effects on our brains and bodies. It can reduce stress, enhance mood, and even improve cognitive function. Have you ever heard that? Or now that you're hearing it, can you think of songs that change your mood?
Oh yeah, like even on the way here, I was listening to Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
And I just, there's certain songs of his, like there's a song called Pride that I just like the sound of it. It gives me. Is it
the one y'all just posted with the jazz beat behind it?
No, not that one.
Okay. Yeah. That one's so good.
That was just like someone mashed up a song and put it together. But it is the song's called Pride, but I just like the instruments and the little vocals that are in the background of the song, and everything flows together.
Now, as far as improving, it says here it changes your mood, it enhances your mood.
Yes. Usually
people listen to music so they can get pumped up to work out, or they can just kind of sob because they broke up and they're listening like to Boys to Men and all this stuff. Okay, so it's usually like to be better. Is there songs that you listen to that you have to turn off because you feel like, dude, this is making me mad, this is making me frustrated? Because if it has that effect on the mind, then it has the effect both ways.
Well, like, I don't really get mad like that. So like the songs don't really make me mad. There's certain songs that will make me kind of sad, but sometimes I actually like listening to them so I can get that sadness like out.
Yeah.
And like not feel that sad anymore, and kind of like, all right, I let it out. I don't have to like stress about it anymore and stuff like that.
I don't know what genre. Okay, this is where I'm going to refer to your expertise, where these guys are jumping around in a circle, punching and kicking and fighting each other. Okay,
In a mosh pit.
yeah. What kind of music is that? Because I feel reading this, the mood is like stress, bro.
A lot of it's like heavy metal,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
I mean, so anyways, that's an interesting thing that I thought that I read. I thought that you might like. Here's the other one. Okay, you're not gonna believe this one, and you can look it up on the Googles. Here we go. The world's longest concert lasted for more than. I'm gonna give you A, B, and take a guess. Several hours, or several years. The longest concert.
It probably is several years, but I don't know.
Okay. Do you want to give me one guess between 1 year and 1,000?
I'll just say a year, because that's kind of crazy going past that.
The world's longest concert lasted more than 639 years. It began in 1361 and is still ongoing in a town in Germany. The concert featured a composition called As Slow as Possible by John Cage, and each note is played for an extremely, of course, long duration.
That's crazy.
I looked it up. It's this weird device. It looks like an organ, but it's like only got two pipes, and it's got this weird wood structure, and all it's doing is going. But
I think I have seen that before, but I'm not sure.
And so they played it, and it played for 639 years.
Dang.
That I don't know, whatever, right? I mean,
That's
how you gonna
crazy.
jam to that? You know,
Yeah.
imagine like I love music, man. Let me see who's this John, and then you're done, bro. For
I mean, if the concert's lasting that long, you're gonna get tired of it at one point.
Here we go. The world's oldest known instrument. Take a guess. What do you think it is?
I'll say like a flute or something like that, or
My boy, you are a genius.
oh,
I'm
I'm
I
just,
thought it was like a
I'm just
It's
guessing.
a flute, man. It was 40,000 years old. It was a flute. Here's another one. This is you'll probably know this one. A famous composer known as Beethoven was deaf, yet he continued to compose and create music. He even conducted symphonies while being unable to hear the performance. How important is it to hear whenever you're listening to music? How much do you watch a video, or how much do you pay attention to the lifestyle of the artist, and then that influences you to liken the music more? Or would you just be done, dude, if you couldn't hear it?
I'll probably be done if I can't hear it, because I listen into deep into the song. Sometimes I can hear like the background of like a little instrument, or a background of a certain vocal, or hear how like for a R&B singer they'll sing a higher note, and then in the background you'll hear like a lower note that kind of makes it flow together, and that's how they that's how you hear them singing so beautifully on like the tracks.
When it comes to music, right, and you obviously have a great interest in music, what started it? What told you, like, when did you feel like I need to explore and learn more to understand music more, whether it be an artist, whether it be a type of music? What brought Johnny into music?
My cousin used to give me like CDs, like rap CDs.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, because I liked rap, but I was never into like deeply looking into it. And then at that time, there wasn't really internet to go look up, all right, Lil Wayne, what did he do on this track, or Lil Wayne something something something, or what was his lyrics. I had to hear it out. I had to hear everything. And so he would give me CDs. He'll burn CDs for me, and I'll be listening to them for hours while I'm like, say, playing a game or just laying in bed or something like that. And it really got me deeper into listening to music. I think the Carter 3 was really the one that kind of really pushed me to that next level of like researching a lot of stuff.
So when you heard the Carter 3, obviously that thing,
yeah.
I mean, okay, and obviously you probably know the whole album more, but when you hear Millie, what does that do, bro? For me, That gets me going, man.
Yeah.
I could be broke, and I'm like, I'm trying to get this money,
Yeah.
and it's so powerful, and it's lasted up to now. Like you can play it, and it still seems relevant.
Yes.
What about that album did it for you? What's a little insight about a song or something like a producer or the way something was done on that album that you learned back then, right before internet or the access that we have now?
Like even like because I was really into researching like music videos and stuff too, and I was learning like how they shoot the music videos, because like if you watch a Millie music video, you see he's walking around and it's like kind of like it looks like behind the scenes, and he goes to the end of the video, and then it goes into this other video called Get Money. And then it goes into the bank, and then you see him shooting the music video like that. Like stuff like that was like, I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. I want to learn more about that. And then I can't remember the name of the song. I think it's the last track on the song. I listened to that song so many times.
Yeah.
And I just liked how it felt like he was just like talking to his audience. He's talking to his fans, but rapping.
How would you define Lil Wayne? Because obviously y'all have the debates about the best and everything. It just y'all complicated it for me. Okay, but there's one thing that I've come to understand, and y'all can test this theory, is that in order to even begin to say who's the best or who's top, the individuals, they got to have a wide scope of music knowledge first.
Yeah.
But they also at least have to be able to name and maybe sing along with some of the songs. And if people aren't able to do that, I don't know. I don't even know if they're allowed to make a list.
Yeah. Well, on our podcast, we kind of just, it's off our personal opinion.
Yeah.
Because we've got roasted in the comments, like say for the Tupac versus Biggie conversation that we had.
Yeah.
And then we did another conversation of it was just our personal Kendrick Lamar top 5 albums.
Yeah.
And they roasted me like crazy, saying that I shouldn't even listen to music no more because I put his album To Pimp a Butterfly, I put that last.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I love the album, but it took me a couple listens to actually appreciate it.
It's like food.
Yeah.
Like, it's so crazy that people would come at you so quick and so fast. And because like literally you can have one hamburger and have 10 people, and to one is going to be the best,
yes.
to one is going to be the worst, and then the rest of the people will fill in the in-betweens.
Yeah.
Is the debate always an individual debate? Like, can you make a statement wider than yourself? Because there's so much music. I feel like that's almost an impossible feat.
Yeah, we could. I can be the devil's advocate and be like, oh yeah, Kendrick's not that great, or this and that. Like, I actually planned on doing that with somebody that we're gonna get on with Drake. Yeah. I love Drake. I love a lot of stuff that he does, but this guy loves Drake a lot more.
So you're gonna fight that Drake is the best.
Yeah.
So how do you prepare, right, as a podcaster, as a communicator, to have that debate, to make it fun, and to make the audience say, now I want to listen to this, because it's hard to fight against someone who loves someone, an artist that grew up with them. I grew up with Tupac.
Yeah.
You know?
And so, like, with the Drake, like, I love Drake. I know a lot about Drake, but I'm gonna be like, Drake didn't even make a good, like, say a certain album. I can't think of one right this second, but say a certain album that was like one of my favorites. I'm gonna be like, no, that was like, a lot of these songs were not even that good and stuff like that. Like, I can play around with that, even though, because I know more about that artist. If it was an artist I did not know, and I was just like, oh, this dude's okay, and I had no information on top of that, it's hard to put that into a podcast, because I'm gonna be like just sitting there like, oh, all right, that, I guess that's it. He's all right, and then go to the next subject.
Share with us, like, what do you do? What are some strategies, some websites, some books, maybe some other podcasters that you listen to to help you understand music? And I understand, guys, I know there's a lot of genres of music.
Yeah.
And so at this point, we're kind of zooming in on hip hop and rap and stuff, but you can venture out of that to keep your knowledge up to date, you know,
Yeah.
so you don't get stuck in a certain year or type of music. What do you do to continue to learn aside from just listening? Because there's only so much time in the day to listen.
Oh, that's all I do is listen.
So you always have music on.
Yeah. And the like to learn about certain people or certain artists or certain like facts about certain music. I do listen to a lot of interviews all the time. If I see like a certain artist I like, I'm like, oh, let me listen to their interview, or artists that I know about, let me listen to their interview. And I might listen to 2 or 3 interviews. Some of them might sound the same. Some might they might add an extra thing that I didn't know or a lot of people didn't know about. And I like hearing that. Like there's a podcast called Drink Champs, and they
Pew pew pew.
yeah, and they get a lot of artists,
Yeah.
and like they give them their flowers before something happens to them or they pass away
Yeah.
later on in life, and they tell stories about their life, the backgrounds of like, all right, this is how a song was made, or the background of like, oh yeah, I got that guy and he wanted to get on the song, and then something else, like just like stuff like that. I really like listening to interviews like that.
So is there an artist like I know it's hard to separate the music from the artist, but is there an artist that you admire as a person that like, man, his business, his journey, the moves he made, the features he had, like that you really like, man, that dude, he paved the way, man. That dude's top because of that, aside from the music?
I have 2. J. Cole is one, and a lot of you. I don't know. We don't know a lot about J. Cole because he doesn't get everything out. But a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that he does do, he like, let me think of like something that he does.
I saw J. Cole. I saw something today. That boy tall.
Yeah.
I saw him go under a door, and I realized how tall he was. I was like, he is tall, man.
He plays basketball too.
Is he any good? Have you seen him? Like,
I seen a couple clips. He's decent.
do you play ball?
No.
Did you ever play basketball?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay, cool. So, who else? You said there was 2.
Nipsey Hussle.
Nipsey Hussle. And okay, so now we got Drake, who's a little not Drake. J. Cole. He's a little private, like you said. He doesn't show much of his life. 2, and then you mentioned Nipsey Hussle, and we know all his.
Yeah.
Not all, but we know
like,
a lot.
the
where
lot
he lived,
that
where he grew up, where he sold. I've heard the story of him selling CDs for how much. Like, the dude was doing a lot, and I love his story. What about him and how he just lived inspires you?
Just like him telling people, like, even though I'm not an artist, I like learning about like the rap game, I guess, as like business stuff. Like, he was giving away like, all right, you need to own the rights to your music. You need to do you just need to own everything, so you are the one making all the money. And so record labels are not giving you all this extra, giving you like $1 million, and you got to pay all that back. And then you end up going and then you end up going broke, and then you're like, oh, I'm not an artist anymore. And then that's how a lot of people fall off.
So speaking of labels and stuff not working out, on this podcast we like to focus on failures and challenges. And you used to rap, flow, make beats. I don't know, was it all encompassing, like when you were doing it?
Like, I started doing the rap by myself. Like, I was doing little rap songs, and then I found out, oh, I need to get a better mic. So I got a mic, I got a stand, and then I had to learn how to record myself, how to like cut out certain parts that, like, oh, I messed up right here, let me cut it out, and then add effects to certain things. Then I was like, oh, let me start a record label, because this girl had said, oh, this other guy from my school will rap too, so let's have y'all joined together.
Got it.
And then
it's
eventually
already doomed to fail because this girl.
Okay, it wasn't that kind of girl.
This girl. Okay, so you started a record label, right?
Yeah.
What was the name, if you don't mind?
It was called King Money Entertainment.
King Money Entertainment. And if someone closest artist that you sounded like or took after, that way people can get a vibe.
It's funny, Lyrical asked me the same thing, and I really don't know.
You don't know? Dude, you gotta put some of your old stuff, and I'll tell you.
I was thinking about doing
just
it
do it
on
right now. Just do it.
No, I was thinking about doing it on the R.A.P podcast, but it just hasn't happened yet.
Okay, so you started it, okay, and you're doing the pod,
Yeah.
you're doing other things now, so it didn't work out.
Yeah, but I did learn a lot from it.
So before we get to the learning part of it, tell me when you kind of how you started it, and then tell me what made it fall apart. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because there's a lot of people who start stuff, whether it be with other people or for other reasons, or I'm motivated for this or for that. And at the end of the day, it isn't enough for them to see it long term, and then it falls apart.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. Tell me how that happened, and then we're gonna go back and retrieve the lessons that you learned from it.
Well, I eventually got I think 5-6 people,
Nice.
not including me. And I started getting to the point where I didn't really like myself rapping. So I eventually I was like the engineer, producer behind the scenes. And I would record all their tracks. I would edit everything. And then eventually I got to the point where I had to make music videos because I was like, oh, we need to make music videos. So I got a camera, did that. And then it was doing good for maybe a couple months, maybe almost a year. And then out of nowhere, one of the guys that I had on, he wasn't the best rapper, but I still liked what he was doing. And one of the other guys, I guess, was jealous. I don't know what the whole situation was about. And they ended up getting into a huge argument.
Oh, man.
And it involved parents and stuff. I was like, nah, I can't. I don't want to be in this drama like that. I try to avoid drama. I'm not trying to be in it.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where other people were,
because y'all were young. I don't want y'all to think that it was now.
We're in high school.
They were in high school, so that's why there was parents involved.
And we were doing all that. They got into it. Parents got involved, and then I was like, oh, we're done with this label. I don't want to be in this drama like that. And then I ended up because they had some other people had heard that I was recording people.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where too many people were showing up at my house.
Oh man, yeah.
And it was a full room of guys, and then it's all hot in there, and I was like, oh man. And then I wasn't charged. I wanted to charge people. I was like, all right, I'm done doing this for free. Let me start charging people. And
the room got empty real fast.
Yeah.
It wasn't so hot no more.
Yeah.
That's so funny. So it failed because you were going from being a hobby to turning it into an actual business, right?
Yes.
You wanted to get some money in trade for your talent. So how did it feel becoming a rapper and then stepping away from that, right? Finding another talent that you have of engineering, understanding music and putting it together, and then boom, you hit the paywall, bro. You hit the paywall, and it put the brakes on what you were doing. How do you handle that, knowing you got talent, but then you don't have the people to support you, to move that talent forward?
Well, after that happened, because I started recording music videos, I started getting more interested in that. So at first I was just recording music videos for my friends, and I was like, oh, this is a little bit better than the recording the people's music or whatever. And I've learned with the podcast too, I edit all the podcasts, all the audio for the podcast. I edit the clips that come out.
Yep.
So I learned from that the audio stuff. So I learned how to engineer and mix and master, and it put me into doing the podcast and mixing and mastering that. And then when we started doing the clips, I was like, oh, I already know how to record a video. Let me record this video, And then I was like, oh, I know how to edit a clip and make
Yeah.
it look cool. I put little zooms and stuff like that to make it more interactive. And it just kind of, I like that it failed, that failed because I got to do stuff that I enjoyed more.
Yeah. So one door closed, and or it gave you the opportunity to learn something else.
Yeah.
What were some of the other lessons? Like, will you ever rap again?
No.
What was that like? How did that close? How do you step away? Because that's super creative. Like, when you think of writing and making music, people always say, man, I'm expressing myself. I want to put what I know out into the world. I want to leave my story out in the world. To walk away from that's pretty big, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you've switched and you're still in the creative field. But how have you come to terms to say that just wasn't for me and I'm going to pivot and do something else?
The doing the rapping, like I thought it was okay, but I wasn't like, I really felt like it was more like I was talking about like high school stuff, and I couldn't get out of that. I was like, I don't know how to transition from that to, being a grown person. And like I said, I was really shy back at that time too. So like I never really had a girlfriend before, and I was just like, oh, this is not, I don't know how to get out of this little high school phase at that time.
Got it. It was just probably early. It was just early in your life, right? So you mentioned the podcast. We're going to jump into your podcast years, okay?
Yeah.
So what inspired you to start or obviously be a part of the R.A.P podcast? Is there a particular moment or experience that sparked your interest? Obviously doing audio, video, and all that, but to get it started, knowing the same thing, bro. It's like back then you were in high school and then you didn't have the experiences to do different rap.
Yeah.
And then when you're doing the pod, you're still kind of like an introvert. You're to yourself, and then you step into this thing that's like going to get you a little bit of attention. How did you do that? You're stepping into something that's a little uncomfortable for you. So what triggered that? What made you say, yeah, this sounds like a good idea?
It was all Jay. Jay had started his first podcast you've heard was Uncensored Minds. And at first he was like, he's trying to find guests. So I was like, oh, I'll just get on. I mean, I'm really cool with him already. I was like, oh, I could talk to him. Like, it's like no big deal. Like, I felt like it was gonna be like say me and you talking off of the podcast, just like having a normal conversation.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that you had to like really get into the podcast so it doesn't sound really boring.
I hear you, man. So y'all were y'all friends before it?
Yeah, we were friends before he had started it.
How many years before? Like, y'all been friends for a long time?
Well, it's been like 9 years now.
Okay, so y'all have had deep, long, funny, serious conversations. And the reason, now this is more like partaking some knowledge for people who are podcasting or want to podcast. And my belief is that normal conversation does not translate for conversation whenever the mics are recording. It doesn't work, but people think, oh, we talk all the time when we have coffee, and it doesn't work. So when did you realize that? When did it happen? Did you say, man, I'm going to have, something's up. This ain't going to work. Or I had to step it up or something, like to make the conversation work for the pod?
Well, after that, after the Uncensored failed and we started the Workaholic podcast.
Okay.
I was actually like I was a fan of it. I was like, oh, this is a good podcast. Like, y'all should cause he had like one mic in the center of the room and people were just talking into it. So it wasn't that great of a quality.
Yeah.
And I was like telling him like, oh yeah, you can get this and that to improve your quality and stuff. And Jay's like, hey, what do you think about you just joining our podcast? And I was like, I guess I could try.
Yeah.
And, so we eventually got that, and I started doing the podcast, and I started opening up on the podcast more. Then our schedule switched, and so I was just sitting there editing for like a month or two, and then Jay was like, hey, what do you think about coming? I'm thinking about doing this new podcast called R.A.P Podcast, or R.A.P, Rhythm and Poetry. what do you think about coming on here? At first, I was sitting back, like, kind of nervous, like, I don't even know that much to talk about music, but really I do. But I just, like,
when you put on the spot, it changes.
Yeah, I doubted myself, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I could talk about music like that. I was asking my wife, like, what should I talk about? Like, you know about music too, so, like, what should I talk about? And eventually, you know, we started the podcast, and within probably, like, when we started doing the clips, that's when I really realized you have to have a lot of, like, kind of a lot of energy.
Got it.
And, like, I would try to do stuff to, like have my energy up and really seem like I'm really into the episode.
Like, I want to make it seem like I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. Let's give some people some tips. Okay, so it's the energy off of the mic is not the same as on the mic.
Yeah.
For the most part, some people just got energy all the time.
Yeah.
But you do have to turn it up a little bit. What have you done to help you do that? How are you turning up the energy for you?
Well, at this point, it was pretty easy. But at first, I had to drink a soda or something like that to get the little energy to, like, have it throughout the podcast. But now it's kind of more natural now. And it got to a point where my wife watches the clips, and she's like, this ain't you. What are you doing on these episodes? Like, you don't really talk like this. Like, yeah. I was like,
Shut your mouth, man. That's not what you mean. You're like, God, dog.
I was like, I have to be more energetic, because I can't just sit back and be like, yeah, this is a good episode, or you know, like, just saying random stuff and, like, being kind of boring with it. I have to have that energy, like, so people can be entertained, and it's not like I'm just, like, a boring person and we're like, oh, I don't even like this podcast, so it's next.
So how do you handle areas that you have to improve on, or, like, as a pod with Jay? Do y'all share with each other and say, dude, like, you're not doing too good there. You have too many hums. You need to raise your voice. How do y'all handle giving each other constructive criticism so that y'all continue to flow?
That's the thing with us. We're very honest with each other. Yeah. Like, at first, you know, I was kind of quiet on the mic. I was editing so I turned up the mic to make it sound a little louder. But he's like, hey, you're kind of quiet on the microphone. He's like, I need you to, you know, pick up the energy, pick up all the, like, you know, do better. Jay is more natural with it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes he might doubt himself, like, oh, this didn't sound that good. Like, no, you sounded great. I was like, I didn't sound that good. And he's like, no, you sounded great.
No, you, man. Yeah. No, me.
Like, we are very honest with each other. Like, we can roast each other. We can just say anything to each other, and we're not going to be, like, sad about it. Or
so is there a particular like, tough conversation that y'all have had within the pod that y'all just had to, man, this is tough, but we got to talk about it? Y'all discussed it and y'all grew from it. Does anything come to mind? And the reason I ask is because there's podcasters out there who come to that hard conversation and someone gets their feelings hurt, the message gets delivered wrong, and then they split and they get mad and then they don't. And some, you know, it's sad because usually we start off as friends. Yeah. We want to have fun, and then like, you know, hey, I'm gonna charge. The room's empty. You know, at some point you got to level up. And how have y'all handled that?
With me and Jay, we really haven't had those kind of conversations where it's just like, dang, like, we have to, like, we're not like something where we're, like, mad at each other about, like me and, I guess we can, like, flow. We flow together on the podcast and outside the podcast.
Good.
Like, we really haven't had any trouble with the podcast at all.
How do y'all decide on the topics and themes for a podcast episodes? Do y'all have a structure? Do y'all have an approach? Do y'all, you know, what's the style and format that y'all are trying to get to with every episode?
Well, it used to be more structured. We kind of just sometimes we make topics on that day. Sometimes we have topics ready.
Yeah.
Like, say, for example, the podcast we just recorded, we all had topics ready. We didn't tell each other the topics. Yeah. And we so we kind of just, like, on, like, I'll say, like, Drake had a new album. what do we think about it?
Yeah.
And then we just have we freestyle the rest and kind of just talk and, oh, I thought about this, I thought about that. Like we never, it's not like we have like a whole thing of notes like, oh, this is what I needed to say. It's more of like a freestyle conversation.
Got it. As a podcaster, what do you find most rewarding about the medium? And is there any specific aspect of the interaction with the audience or something that stands out?
I mean,
and you think,
yeah.
but I'm going to put this out there, okay, because I've told you and Jay that when y'all came on the scene, y'all, I don't know where y'all came from, man. I was just like, all of a sudden, I caught your feed. I started seeing y'all, and I said, okay, who are these guys? I heard a few. I said, okay, they got good chemistry. I thought Jay had real good communication skills. And then I started seeing other people catch on, and then all of a sudden, y'all were in the conversation, and we had the PBR and podcast event here with I think a month ago.
Yeah.
And I would just remember y'all showing up, and I was anticipating y'all showing up, and so I was observing everyone, and y'all got a lot of love.
We were actually shocked. Like we still play around to this day, like saying, "Oh, we're the local celebrities," but we're just playing around with it. We don't think we're that big shots like that.
Yeah.
We just play around with that.
It's something.
Yeah.
Like,
but we were literally talking about this today. It's like we were both shocked that it grew so fast.
Yeah.
Like even though like I'm over in the behind the scenes, kind of sharing it and trying to like get our name out there, but I wasn't expecting to like have a great feedback from it.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, certain podcasts, like even with Workaholic, a lot of people are not in that lane to like listen to that and be like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And there's some people that love that and, oh yeah, I love this. It's gotten to a point with the rap podcast is like, all I've heard is, oh, this is a really great podcast. Like I want to listen more. And then I have people hitting me up or like people that I know that will come up to me and be like, hey, I like that topic that y'all talked about. And then we have a full conversation on that. And like I said, we were both shocked that we got the feedback that we got.
Yeah, no, I just remember saying, okay, here they are. I said that there's a vibe, man. I don't know what it is. And it's like everyone can make a cup of coffee, but not everybody's Starbucks. You know what I mean? And so it does take something that that y'all just own. Like it's the chemistry that's between your crew, your editing, and then obviously you do the Instagram, you do the shorts, and all and it's all like great. And I think, I don't know, that stuff helps, but I'm proud of y'all, man. I love what I'm watching. So I'm gonna ask you some questions. I know that y'all both host, but you're still kind of collabing and working off of each other. Yeah. So how did you and your co-host come together to start the podcast? Was it a funny conversation when y'all sitting around? What was the dynamic when y'all said, let's go? Like, what was the final, let's do it?
Like I said, we had the Workaholic podcast, and then our schedule switched because there was 3 of us on there, and Jay already had the idea for he had this idea for a long time for doing this podcast, the rap podcast, but he didn't know who he was gonna get on it, and then the opportunity happened, and he was just like, "Hey, you want to start this new podcast?" And like I said, I was a little nervous, but I was like, "Sure." It's like let's do it.
So in life, we learn a lot, man. We go through the stuff we go through, and I feel like if you don't learn, then you're probably going to go through it again. So I'm going to ask you some questions about who you are, right? Who Johnny is as a person, and then just hit me with what you got. Here's the first one. Can you describe some of the most significant events or turning points in your life and how they shaped you to the person that you are today?
The person I am today. Well, like a lot of stuff happened in my past with my father. He was a alcoholic, and he was doing like drugs and stuff like that, and I started finding that out, and I was like, I'm not trying to be like that. So everything he did, I did the opposite. And so like till this day, I've never been to jail. I never really got in trouble. I tried to keep to myself, so I'm trying to be laid back and keep to myself. And I was in a pretty dark place for years when all this stuff was happening, because there was a lot of events that happened because of my father. But eventually my wife came in my life.
Yeah.
And that opened like my eyes, and opened, like, made me feel like a better person.
Yeah.
Even if this is at the time, like, I didn't think I was gonna get with her, because I was like I said, I was so shy. I literally text her one day.
Hey.
Because me and her were hanging out before.
Yeah.
And we were just hanging out, go to the movies, stuff like
Friend
that.
zone.
Yeah. Pretty much. And after months of hanging with her, I was just like, I think I had told her, like, oh yeah, I like somebody. I had told her that before.
Girl, am I investing my money or am I wasting it?
Yeah.
I need to know.
But I had told her before, like, yeah, I like somebody, but I don't know if she likes me back or nothing, but I'm not sure, whatever. And one day it was Christmas, and me and my family were in Kansas on Christmas Day, and she was in East Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So I texted her. I said, hey, the person I like is you.
Oh my God. Dude,
The most corniest thing I've ever done.
What did she text? Oh.
Yeah. And then she said, I forgot what she said. It was something like, I was like, so do you want to be my girlfriend? And she said, I have to think about it. And I was like, oh. But I was excited at the same time, because it's like, this is the furthest I ever got with any kind of girl ever.
I love it, bro. I love it.
And
so how long she make you wait? Love to the wife. But how long she make you wait, man? How long did you suffer for?
So it was after New Year's.
Yeah.
So basically we both got back into town.
Got it.
And I just hung out with her, and then we were trying to figure out if we were gonna be together or not. And then I I went home that night, and I just kept on thinking about it. I was like, I texted her. It's like, just let me know if you want to be with me or not.
There's a line, girl. There is a line.
I'm trying to. I want this to happen, and she was just like, yeah. So since January 5th, 2012, I've been with her.
Good, man. Yeah, man. That, love, man. Good, healthy love is good, bro. I mean, I'm right there with you. I love that. You might as well have wrote it on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
You like me? Circle yes or no.
For real.
Okay, so, your dad was alcoholic, drug issues, and it affected you mentally,
yes.
And it kind of developed you with, like, how you are today. But obviously you have grown and made some good choices, and then you're doing what you're doing. It's all good stuff. Let's just say you did a talk and you had a room full of young people.
Yeah.
What would be 3 topics that you would, share with them from your life experience to help them?
Ah, man. It's on the spot. One topic is just if like when you are older and you're 21, don't abuse alcohol. Kind of, drink a beer, maybe 2 or 3, depending on how much you can handle, and then slow down. Slow down so you can get a little bit more sober. Even have your designated driver, because that was a lot with my dad. He would drink, and then he'd eventually drink and drive. He was in jail a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually got to the point where he got in jail where he was gone for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And all my family wanted me to write him, but throughout my life I had to go see him in jail. I don't want to see him like that, for one thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to write him because it felt like the same thing. I wanted to see him again. I did give him another chance.
Yeah.
And I did hang out with him a couple years, and then eventually he messed up again. He started to drink more, and then he drank and drive. He went to jail. Then he was already with my stepmom at the time. she eventually had cancer, and then they were kind of getting into it. They ended up divorcing. I didn't find out till like a little later, but he ended up. It kind of grew to the last straw where he asked me and my brother for money for him and my stepmom at the time, and then she tells us later that she wasn't. The money wasn't for her. It ended up being just for him. I don't know what he did with it, but I was like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't want to, like, when I do have kids, I don't want it to be a part of their life. Like, I want them to have a great life. Like, I don't want them to go through what I went through, or whatever.
So drinking responsibly would be one of your topics. Obviously, with your mom being sick and then your dad taking advantage of you, obviously he wasn't in his right state of mind. So what would be another thing what was another big lesson that you pulled out from just experiencing this?
Well,
because you could be angry at the world today. Yeah. I wouldn't be mad at you, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you got handed a bad deck of cards. You know what I'm saying? How have you? I mean, you seem positive. Like, your vibes for me, since I met you, and we talked a little bit back and forth, like, your vibes are good.
Yeah, just I had to go through it, and eventually I got out of that mind state of like, dang, this really sucks, and like, yes, I want a dad that's there for me. I want a dad that cares about me and everything, like, cares about my feelings and all that stuff. Yeah. But I mean, I can't force it.
Yeah.
And I started, you know, when you think back to certain things and like start realizing stuff, I started realizing, like, yeah, my dad didn't really know me. He just knew a piece of me.
Yeah.
And then it was more of like he was judging me on certain things. I'm like, oh, now I'm glad I kind of got out of that.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't know. I have my own therapy to myself. I don't know. It's a weird situation.
Did music play a big role in that therapy?
It did. It did a lot.
What kind of music was it?
It was a little different. It's just different music. There was some rock, some R&B, some hip hop. Because like there's certain, you know, some people go through kind of similar things and they sing about it or they'll rap about it, and that helped me out a lot.
Got it. What are some of the most important people in your life, and how did they influence you?
My mom is one.
What are some of the, maybe one or two of the biggest lessons that she gave you?
Lessons. Because she tried to, like, she wanted me to, you know, do better too. So I ended up moving out at 19. I'm glad she did it, but at the same time I was like, I wish I didn't do it at the same time, but I like that she kind of like started teaching me like, like how to be more independent for myself. Cause she kind of sheltered me when I was younger from all the stuff that was happening. And, she, like I said, she's like the best mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. What is the most important lesson that you've learned in life?
I don't think I have that yet.
You're still looking.
Yeah.
But you don't mind learning.
Yeah, I don't mind learning.
You're seeking it. Okay.
Because I do want to be better than what I am today.
What is the key to happiness for you?
Just having, well,
my wife. Okay.
Yeah. Well, having my
had
family.
To help you, bro. I didn't want to leave you out there. No, I'm joking.
No. Like I said, my family, like my wife, my mom, and my brother and sister, and then like a couple like grandparents. Like, for example, one of my great grandparents that passed away early 2010s. They had taught me a lot. They they're the reason I wanted to find find my wife and be with someone that's like great for me, and I'm not stressed out all the time, and I don't feel like, oh, we need to break up and then we get back together, like those kind of situations. So like, because they show me like the love that they had for each other, because they were married for 6 years. And they
that's the good stuff.
Ended up, passing away almost around the same time. But they're just it's around that age, so it was like a normal of them passing away.
What do you enjoy doing in your free time?
A lot of stuff I like doing is editing. I don't know why.
I like working.
Yeah.
I like working.
I like editing, and I like watching anime. What else do I do? That's pretty much it. And then hanging with my wife.
Sounds good, man. What do you think makes a good friend?
Someone you can.
I ain't got any. I don't know.
No, like for real, like I said with Jay, he's a person that I can like talk to about anything.
Yeah.
He's not gonna judge me for it, and he can do the same with me. I'm not gonna judge him for it, but we kind of give each other advice at the same time. Someone that's just there for you whenever you need them.
Yeah.
Even if it's just like, oh, I need you to call me real quick. I need to talk to you real quick. Stuff like that. Like, Jay has been a really great friend to me.
Love it. What are you most proud of in your life so far?
This podcast.
The R.A.P podcast. I love it. You're doing great.
Like, because I feel like it's actually doing really good. So, like, it's something that I'm proud of at this moment.
What do you hope to achieve in the future?
Doing the podcast full time. Maybe having I think Jay wants to do the same thing, is having a studio.
Yeah.
Say a podcasting studio plus a studio where people can record their music, a place that they can hang out, a place that they can do like a music video, like with the big backdrops and stuff like that.
As far as failure and challenges go, what final thought do you want to leave our listeners with as far as what failure means to you, or just your final thought in regards to failure and challenges?
Well, for me, it's just like, you might fail at something, but that might help you achieve your next goal.
Yeah.
That you might have in the future, like how I said with my situation. Like, I failed at the rap stuff, but that helped me get better with the music videos, with the audio engineering, with actually helping starting a podcast and making it better.
Yeah.
So that's about it.
I love it. Any final questions or complaints? You can file them in right now. We good?
Yeah, everything's great.
That is a wrap. No, I'm joking.
I mean, that's what we say. Hey, that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. No, man. Thank you for coming on. I really enjoyed this time together. Thank you for being open. I believe that everyone's life journey has so many lessons to help other people in their journeys, but you just got to sit down and you got to share it, and that's what we're doing here at the Failed Podcast. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for being so open. Much success to you and Jay on your podcast and the journey that's ahead of you. And I'm going to continue to listen. And for everyone watching, thank you for tuning in to the Failed Podcast. Don't forget, subscribe, leave us a comment, share with your friends, and give us your plugs.
My plug is at 4JohnnyG on Instagram.
And I'll put it in the description below.
And then R.A.P Podcast on Instagram.
And that as well, y'all.
And R.A.P Podcast on TikTok and Facebook.
Yeah, and then from there you'll catch all their other content, because they got the Workaholic podcast. It's a funny and it's a great podcast as well.
Yeah, follow that on Instagram too.
Yeah, man. So thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see y'all on the next one.
Later.